Hi guys, it's Jan from Melbourne Foodforest. You won't believe how much our veggie pod has exploded. Let me show you. Check this out, guys. Remember in the video last time, all I had were flowers and I was hopeful that we get some eggplants. Well, the veggie pod gods have delivered. We have been swamped with eggplants. Check this out. How crazy is this? We've got a forest of eggplants. I don't think I've even counted how many there are on one plant. This is one plant that's so heavy it has toppled over. There is another plant next to it, but and there's eggplants on those. Yeah, there are a lot, but we can't see them because this one's fallen over. It's really hard to stake in the veggie pod because the wicking reservoir has a limited depth. So if you're growing things with this much fruit on it, they may topple over. I'm going to try maybe a couple of stakes, but oh my gosh guys, look at this. Look at these. These are our favorite types of eggplants. My husband's a cook, as you all know. He loves cooking with these. They're so small and tender. They never get bitter. And they're really easy to prepare. Not like your standard eggplants. They're huge. And what do you do with all that eggplant? Well, these, easy to chop, easy to prepare, easy to roast. They're going in a pasta sauce tonight. A delicious Italian pasta sauce with our fresh basil, which I'll show you in the veggie pod. But let's check out this forest. And being small finger eggplants, so this is Lebanese eggplant, they ripen quicker. They're great for impatient gardeners. There's nothing not to like about these. They're really the best kind of eggplant you can grow. And in the veggie pod, eggplant loves these wet conditions, the constant water reservoir and the microclimate from the cover, which we leave on windy days like today. Just lifting this off to show you today. It protects them from wind and keeps them warm and happy. And they're so happy. I've never grown such prolific eggplants before because normally mine dry out. They need to be wet constantly. So to have, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, like close to 30 fruit on a single eggplant. That's nuts. Let me see if I can try to straighten this out. So you can see, and there's more. There's more everywhere. So guys, if you love eggplants, your veggie pod is the place to grow them. We've also put a couple more eggplants in because, yeah, they just thrive in these conditions. Now let me compare it to the ones that I planted in my normal garden beds at the same time and the same size. Come and see. Okay, now exactly the same plants, seeded at the same time, planted out at the same time, and look at the difference. If we relied on this, we'd be starving. We'd have no eggplants to eat. Oh, there is one. Look, one tiny one. Anything else? Come on. No, this plant's quite a decent size, but I don't see any fruit. And look at the leaves. Crispy. Crispy. Eggplants literally need daily watering. I don't know who can keep up with them. Ours always get crispy leaves in the ground. And over here, another lovely eggplant. No fruit. Lots of flowers though. I think they're on the way, but you can see that's worlds behind. This one's quite small. Yeah, that one's, again, flowers, but no fruit and brown leaves again. Let's go back to the veggie pod. Now, back to the veggie pod. Do you see that? Perfect, beautiful looking eggplants. No crispy leaves. They're just perfect. And the plants are tall. And what, 50 times more fruit? We've got a single one in the ground. And probably if I dug around in this forest, you know, I find close to 50 fruit, I reckon. All ready for picking. Delicious. Isn't that incredible? As someone who's time poor, young kids, job, Vegepod is your saviour if you want to grow eggplants. Really ideal condition. That's almost, yeah. If eggplants could talk, they would say, please plant me in the Vegepod, please. I'm going to listen to them next year and plant all our eggplants in the Vegepod. Look how big that's gotten. Like, the ones in the ground are nice, but are big, but not like this. This is forest of eggplants. But yeah, I've never grown an eggplant this loaded before, and it's 100% due to the wicking bed. So the water reservoir in here that's constantly keeping our eggplants moist. And this is just like a few feasts in one, and there's actually more over here. Hold on. Over here. Can we see all those? My gosh. And in here there is actually a stack. Sorry. Just so many leaves. Oh my gosh, here. Look. This is why we leave our cover off. Just saw this. Do you know what that is? That is a lacewing. One of the best predators you can attract to the garden. Oh my gosh, I hadn't seen a lacewing in here before. I had seen ladybirds helping us eat aphids, but this lacewing is on the back of our eggplant leaf, which is covered in some whitefly eggs, because it's been a really bad season for whitefly where we are this year. It's all through the garden, and even if you had your Vegepod cover down, they would get in. They're smaller than the cracks on the shade cloth in your Vegepod, so they would fit through that hole, whitefly. So it doesn't matter if you have your cover on or off, they're going to get in. Which is why we choose to leave ours off and attract predators using our companion flowers, which I've shown you, and I'll show you again. But that's just going through and munching up all of the whitefly eggs on the back of that leaf. That is incredible. I'm so glad I saw this. Such a friend and helper in the garden. And let me show you, you can see some of the whitefly on this eggplant leaf here. Hold on, let me get a good shot. You can see how tiny they are. Those white dots. They're so small. There's not like a plague here yet, but in some parts of the garden there are. Thank you for looking after our eggplants. So can you see here on the back of this eggplant leaf, those little white spots? That's actually the eggs of whiteflies that haven't hatched yet. So hopefully we get some predators in to help us fix the problem. In any event, the eggplant doesn't seem too affected at the moment. Now any leaves that are really heavily affected, like that one, you might just want to take it off and put that into your green waste bin, or you can solarize that in a plastic bag. But don't add it straight to your compost, because they're just going to hatch and you're going to breed more whiteflies. It's always a good idea to thin out your eggplant leaves below, just like you do with tomatoes. Being in the same Solanaceae family, they can be prone to some fungal diseases, although eggplants I find way less temperamental than tomatoes. But it doesn't hurt to thin out some of the leaves. So for example, you can see I've thrown some eggplant leaves on the surface, and those were non-diseased leaves, which I just pulled off like this. Careful of any spikes, you don't want to prick yourself. Yeah, so chuck. Funny, slightly yellowy lower leaves. Plants will naturally discard these anyway because they're just not getting any light. They're not photosynthesizing, so you can safely remove these. Let me see, there's a couple more like around here. Just be really careful because eggplant can be spiky. Let me show you what I mean. Look on that leaf there. Sharp thorns, as sharp as rose thorns. Don't want to touch that. Ouch. Okay. So you might wear gloves and use secateurs for this. But yeah, I just throw it straight onto the soil. Permaculture principle of chop and drop. And that's nutrients going back into the soil to feed it. Have a look at these okra flowers. Okra is in the same family as hibiscus, which you might know as those beautiful big flowers with the stamens coming out of it. Really tropical looking, and you can see bears a resemblance. Beautiful, showy white flowers. And we've got two types of okra in here. Your standard green, which produces these white yellow flowers, and red okra, in case you've never seen that before. That produces red coloured okra fingers, and the flowers are pink sunset coloured. And you can see the stem on that plant is red, whereas on these it's green. But yeah, beautiful flowers that fade very quickly. Sometimes in half a day they're gone. So you've got to appreciate them and admire them while they last. And they'll soon become these little stumps once the flower drops off, which then becomes your classic okra finger. So not far off. We're so excited to have some okra to eat. And can you believe we've got our first okra? Nice big finger. I should probably pick that soon, but I'm just so admiring it. It's our only one. What are we gonna cook it in? It's not gonna feed a nation, this, but you know, I'm hopeful for a few more. It does look healthy. And there's our two other plants. I'm just so happy that I've grown an okra finally this season, even if it's just one. Purple basil flowers. How divine are they? So purple basil produces pink coloured flowers, while green basil, your standard basil, produces white flowers. Such a beautiful contrast against the deep opal burgundy leaves. Now the reason why I've let this go to flower is it is coming towards late summer. It's our last month of summer, and I don't want my red basil and green basil, which is planted in our garden, to cross. I want to save pure seed. So I'm letting this variety go to seed first while I keep pinching the green, and there's no seed heads at all. So even if I leave the veggie pod cover off, I'm not going to get cross-contamination or cross-pollination of the seeds, because you will. The two varieties will cross, and it just won't be this beautiful purple. So another option is to keep your cover on all the time. Let your plant go to seed. I mean, that's how seed sellers do it. They have containment tunnels, containment chambers netted off. But yeah, we try and do things easy way. Let one variety go to flower at a time. And this purple basil, this one is just starting to go to flower. Hasn't opened up buds yet. But yeah, we've also harvested a crazy amount of basil. I've dried so much of it on a drying rack on the kitchen bench, and we store it away. It's so delicious, dried basil, in pasta sauces. It's kind of like that secret ingredient that gives your pasta dishes extra flavour, different character entirely to fresh basil, and it allows you to store it year round. So I've got a couple of jars, small jars already, and so I think I can let this one go to flower. Absolutely stunning, contrasted with its deep burgundy leaves. So you can save pure seed by just letting one variety flower at a time. So I'm letting the red go first. I'm pinching all the green in our garden because bees will come in and pollinate. We leave our cover off. So you might recall on this side of the veggie pod we had lots of lettuces, and most of them went to seed. So I've cut them at the base and harvested what I could. There's still a couple in here that I need to remove. But in between the gaps, so we don't waste any time, we put seedlings of capsicum. And look, banana capsicum producing already. So that's why you don't waste any time. You don't try not to have blank soil. You should always have seedlings on the go, and you pop them between the cracks of your other plants if you can tell they're going to seed or going to finish up soon. And I've even chucked in some seeds for bok choy because we're getting short on leafy greens. So I thought, well, chuck it in and see how I go. The veggie pod's nice and moist and gives it good protection because Asian greens can bolt really easily in heat. So I'm not expecting that to get huge and succulent in the way they would in winter, but if we can get that a bit bigger and harvest it for a feed and keep planting more in the gaps, then we're getting another meal, because they don't mind the shade between the other plants. In fact, they relish it in summer. So this is how we maximize our bed space in time and height and get a few crops out of them. Now this is getting chaotic in here. This basil has tipped over as well. I'll need to stake that because I've put 2 eggplants in here. These are dwarf. Again, you really want to make sure you have dwarf varieties because say like those eggplants over there, the Lebanese I showed you earlier, they're pretty much as high as you can go with eggplants. Don't put your huge varieties in. Put the smaller dwarf varieties or they're going to hit the canopy. This one is already close to bursting out of the canopy. I will show you as I close it. Let me walk around. Okay, so it's been a challenge to close the canopy recently. You can see here it's about to crush the eggplants. So you have to be really careful, and it's kind of hitting the roof as well. So this type of dwarf eggplant that grows to about 50 centimeters is about as big as you would want to go. And look, here are all our row of companion flowers, which are also sticking out the veggie pod and have been crushed occasionally when the cover closes, sorry. But they're still doing their job, obviously, attracting beneficial insects and looking beautiful, providing heaps of colour for us. Yeah, so after removing the lettuces, popped in 2 eggplant seedlings. I didn't have anywhere for them to go. This one was actually much bigger, but I don't know what we had in the veggie pod. Don't think it was anything like a rat for sure, but could have been slaters or earwigs that just kept snipping plants like this. So I actually lost a really beautiful holy basil. Fortunately I have backups, and I've replaced it with bigger eggplant seedlings, and they seem to be leaving this one alone. This one got snipped, so it's taking a while to recover. This is Casper eggplant, which produces white eggplant, your classic original eggplant. And this one is a Thai long green. So I better get a move on, or I don't know summer's going to be long enough for it to produce. We'll see, fingers crossed. This one's got flowers already coming, so I think that one's going to be good. There's another bok choy chucked in by seed. A couple of mushrooms, unintentional, and a lot of people ask, you know, beginner gardeners freak out when they see these. They're like, oh my gosh, what should I do with them? What's happened? Well, in fact, it's a sign of a really healthy soil. It means you've got fungi in your soil, and your soil's made connections with beneficial microbes. It does mean that your soil is moist and you've got a dark spot, so you could cut back watering, and not surprising here because this is in a very shady spot, pretty much under these leaves. So we could cut back some of the watering on this side. Means it's plenty wet. And edamame is really bulbing up. If you were gonna eat them fresh, probably harvest at this stage, but we are growing these for the seed. They're black. This is a black edamame, so black soybean. So we want it to bulb up much further. It's getting very squishy though. Yeah. And finally our pink celery, which is sandwiched between everything, is looking quite healthy, and it's really tripled in size since we last saw it. Celery actually likes some shade and loves water, so ideal conditions in the veggie pod. Thanks so much for watching. I hope next time I can show you loads more banana capsicum, so I can see flowers on the way already. It's going to be heaps more. And also show you what these two are, which is also a source of curiosity for me because labels always get mixed up despite best intentions. So I'm guessing those are bull's horn capsicum, but we shall find out together. And maybe I can show you a Casper eggplant. We have some in the ground and you can see them in my other video, which I'll link above, but not in the veggie pod where they'll be so much happier. With the microclimate and the water reservoir, the wicking bed that they're constantly tapping into. As always, if you enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel and share with your friends. That really does help us grow, and it allows us to make more content and fulfill our mission of making the world a little bit greener, one gardener at a time. So thank you so much for all your support. And next time I'm going to have a veggie pod Q&A session for you. I'm going to answer many of the commonly asked questions that I get asked all the time, like, should I leave the cover on or off? Do I need to mulch my veggie pod? How much should I water? How closely should I space? All those burning questions, I'm going to cover them. Until next time, see ya.